You're listening to Release Your Resistance with Bex Beltran, episode 111. Welcome to Release Your Resistance. This is Bex. The only reason why any of us don't have what we want in life is because of our own resistance. Right now, I'm learning how to recognize and release my resistance, and this podcast tells you how you can release your resistance so that you can live the exact life that you want. Let's get started. Welcome to the Release Your Resistance podcast, or welcome back if you are a fan of this show. I'm so glad to bring you another episode here in season 3, and today I am interviewing, or rather having a really fun and interesting conversation with my friend, Hope Loyd. So she is a dental hygienist in Texas, and she's also the host of the Gums and Gossip podcast, which I was a guest on earlier this year. So if you want to go back and listen to that episode after you listen to our conversation today, you can get an easy link to that at bexby.org/meethope. So I hope you will enjoy hearing all about how she started a podcast as a dental hygienist, where she has seen resistance show up in her life and how she deals with it, and all the other things that we have in common and love to talk about, and the way that we both love to show up in the world. Before we get started today, I just wanted to tell you about today's featured notebook. It's called Living My Life 2023. It's a weekly, monthly planner. I've been using the 2022 version for the last 10 months now and loving it. Next year's version is a glossy cover with bright colors on it. And when you open it up inside, you can see month at a glance as well as week at a glance pages. So this is going to be the perfect place if you like to keep a paper calendar for yourself, and you can even write down your upcoming dental appointments. Hint, hint, we're about to talk to a dental hygienist. So here's the episode where you can meet Hope. Hey, Hope, how are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. This has been a fun journey for me, and I'm so excited to be on your show.
I'm so excited to have you. We met, I think, earlier this year, and you had me on your podcast so graciously. And so we'll definitely direct people back to that episode too. But I've been so hopeful to get you to come on mine, and it's been my hiatus that has kept us apart. And now we're back together, and I'm so happy to see you again.
Well, I am glad to be here, and I'm so excited to see you.
And just in case anyone didn't catch our episode together on your podcast, which is called Gums and Gossip, would you mind just introducing yourself and giving a little bit of your own story to this audience?
I am a dental hygienist registered in the state of Texas. I have my bachelor's of science degree in dental hygiene, and I graduated back in 1996. So it's been about 26 years, and I specialized in periodontics, which is gum specialty, where patients were very sensitive and they did not want to see the dentist, but I always wanted to comfort everybody. And I live by my name, Hope, where I give hope to the dental community. I love what I do. It's my passion. And I am expanding on things now, where I have this podcast called Gums and Gossip Podcast. I met you through, it was pick me up lines. It was about my dating. Here I am. I'm a single mom, and I always had cheesy pickup lines. Here you are, a journaler. We connected through social media, where we laughed about some of the pickup lines and how to pick yourself back up off of those pickup lines. And I still talk about that with my patients.
I love it. I love it. So yes, when we first connected and we talked about doing an episode together, because I hadn't met you before, I didn't know you, I went and listened to some of your episodes, and I like to walk and listen. And I was walking, listening, and laughing because your podcast is so good, and you just make me laugh, and you just tell stories. I thought to myself, well, I don't know what I'm going to have in common with a dental hygienist. I mean, I don't know what this podcast has to offer me, but it had a lot to offer me. For one thing, you got me to go back to the dentist after COVID.
Which I love. Everybody should go visit their dentist.
Yes. And when I was laying in the chair too, I thought, oh, got to tell Hope. She got me back here. I was curious if I was going to become best friends with this new dental hygienist that I just met. I didn't. But that's okay. You have a lot of connection with your clients. How does that work?
I do. So when somebody sits in my chair, I have connections, I feel like, with everybody. And I feel like you meet people for reasons. I want people to feel at ease and give hope. So I want everyone to feel like their family, their friends. When they sit in my chair, there's nothing to worry about. I have the experience. I have the knowledge. You're safe. You feel safe. You feel that you're being nurtured. And it's just a natural thing for me to give off.
I love that. And I think it comes through. I'm sure your patients feel that, but I think it comes through in your podcast as well. So the question that was on my mind, and maybe on a lot of people's minds, is why does a dental hygienist have a podcast? Like, how do those things go together? So tell us that backstory of that.
This is totally out of my comfort zone when I started the podcast. I had patients when 2020 hit. I had patients that missed me. They wanted to have conversations beyond the dental chair. So I became the Gum Goddess podcaster of Gums and Gossip podcast. It was, like I said, out of my element, but I love people and I love to share. So I had to get out of my head just a little bit and experience that I'm just talking to people, not this microphone and where I am and what I'm doing. It was a whole different mindset. And since I've been doing that, it's really evolved where patients, they laugh in the chair and then they can also listen to me on the podcast and feel comfortable. I've even had somebody listen to me while they're having treatment done with their earbuds in just to hear the podcast. And they say, Hope, I said, that's not fair. I'm right here. I'm trying to talk to you and give you you can listen to that anytime.
Yeah, but they just were so curious once they heard about the podcast, they wanted just to listen right away, huh?
Exactly. I love to share stories. It started with my dating stories and how ridiculous everything was. And then it became where everybody had different things like human design and relationship coaches, and people have different unique experiences to share. And everybody who sits in my chair has a story. Think about life. Everybody has a story, what they've been through. I've been through a lot. I like to give inspiration. I like to bring people happiness.
It definitely comes through in just talking with you, but in also listening to your episodes. So I hope everyone goes and listens to those. Would you say that your intended audience is like a dental patient or a dental hygienist or the general public or a single mom who's dating, or who is your audience for Gums and Gossip?
My audience really is people who maybe they have a fear of the dental office. And they want to see, who is this person that is out there that actually can share stories and get you back into the dental office, or the dental community. People like to listen to me. Sometimes there's a lot of wealth of information in the dental community where I've had a biological dental, hygienist that she was on the show. So I feel like everybody can listen to the show and have some giggles and feel real. It's where you are a person. You're a human in the dental chair. And times have changed where you can be yourself, your authentic self, and shine through. And really, it could be anybody.
I love that. And so you kind of mentioned like this was not your normal skill set when you started the podcast. So I'm guessing that you had some resistance, or did you? I guess I should ask, did you have resistance that you had to overcome in order to press publish on that?
I did. The resistance that I had, I critiqued myself over and over again. How am I going to do the introduction? How am I going to do this? It really made me so uncomfortable because one of my things is I'm a perfectionist. How would I put myself out there and not have everything be so perfect? And I really had to get that out of my head.
Yeah.
That people are going to you're going to make mistakes. You're going to have to learn. And I didn't even have the technology. I didn't know about the technology. I was podcasting out of my closet. I'm podcasting now out of a studio. I have a lot of people that I've networked with. It's opened up a whole bunch of doors just to have this podcast, but I wouldn't have known unless I put myself out there.
Totally. So what are some ways that you have evolved or new opportunities that have come to you because now you have this additional skill and asset of a podcast?
So I have several resources of groups, of networks. One of them, I will be going to a conference called Brown Girl RDH, which is going to be in North Carolina, in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I've been asked to be on a panel for diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's exciting. So my guest speaking role is evolving. And next year, I will be guest speaking on soft skills in the dental world and what they are and how to overcome things as well. So it's evolved into the speaking role where I feel a little more comfortable sharing things outside of my dental chair.
I love that because I'm guessing how else would these people who booked you for the conference and the speaking role have known about you? How else would they find this one dental hygienist in Texas unless you had put yourself out there and overcome the perfectionism and said, oh, let me just try it. Let me just put it out there, right?
Right. And just being a single mom was that's a personal resistance because here I have these two, they were young kids at the time, and you're juggling so many different things. Now they're older. That's given me an opportunity to be able to do this where I am going to be empty nester, and my daughter is graduating high school this year. She's on her own. I've done my job. I feel very good about everything that I've done. Where my son, he's going to college and he's studying industrial technology up at Iowa State. Wow. And my daughter is going off to college as well, wants to be a NICU nurse. So here I am in this position now where I can help others. I tell my patients, I give you extra love because my kids really don't need me as much anymore. So all this love that I have that I've been just giving and giving and giving, now I can extra give. Right. Not that I didn't give before, but I can extra give. And then people go, wow, that's really cool.
I love that. I bet they feel so lucky. Oh, thank goodness I got Hope instead of someone who's just let me just do the job. Let's just focus on this. So yeah.
And that's what people say. They say, I felt so comfortable. That's the biggest compliment that I can receive is that I'm not scared to come to the dentist anymore. Mm-hmm. I feel so comfortable in your chair that I want to come back. I want to make that impact on people that they want to come back and visit, that we're friends, we're family. Everybody's welcome. There's no judgment. I've had relationships with people that, they had a death in the family. They had a birth of a child. You go through so many connections and you help people. I even had, this was one of my moments. I'll give you a story. Yeah. I even had a lady said, you love what you do so much. She came back in the next time and said, I quit my job because of you. And at first I got really nervous, and she was a single lady. And I thought, oh my goodness, how did I make you quit your job? And she says, you're just so happy with what you do that I wanted to find my own happiness. And in order to find my own happiness, I had to let everything go, and things are starting to work out now. And it was at first, like I said, I took it as a negative, but then I realized, wow, what an impact I had on her, that she could actually look at her own happiness and step outside of her box just because something that I said. Your mouth might be open and you might have, hands in your mouth and all that. But I can actually understand people, and I feel that empathy and that compassion. I have kind of heart. And even if you don't say anything, I get to know people.
Oh, I'm sure you must pick up on all the nonverbals and all the emotion and little micro expressions and things like that. I bet you read their eyes a little bit too.
I do. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, wow. Well, that is really interesting because it almost sounds to me like the woman, she almost needed an example or needed to see someone else can be happy in their job and feel fulfilled. So maybe I can have that too. She needed to kind of see a template in order for her to take that step and push through her own resistance.
Right. And to be a positive impact on people is an incredible feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And you didn't really have to go out of your way or be inauthentic. You were just living your life. You were just doing your job and just showing up as Hope, and it inspired her.
Exactly. I think
Oh.
my other resistance would be setting boundaries.
Okay, let's talk
Boundary
about that.
setting.
Yeah.
Yes. So I am a giver.
Okay.
I like to, and even in relationships, it's just, I like to overextend myself. I've really had to step back and learn that I am somebody too, and I have value. I think growing up, it was just taught, you just did. And I think things have, since especially COVID times, self-care and making sure everybody's okay. I have to check in on myself a lot too, and make sure that I set up enough boundaries where I have time for myself. And I never did that before. But juggling a podcast, trying to guest speak, trying to do clinical dental hygiene, trying to be mom, trying to do all these things, it really does put up and I could do it before. It's weird how I did so many things before. And so I thought, well, I can do all this and then some, but then I had to step back and say, hey, I need to set some boundaries.
How is it going for you with your boundaries?
I think it's going really well. I look at myself. I love myself. So I have had to give myself permission, if that sounds, I have really had to give myself permission because I'm very hard on myself. Everybody has their little things that they do, but boundaries, setting them, saying, okay, I need my own time is actually really rewarding.
What does an example of a boundary look like that you've implemented for yourself?
For example, I'll give you in the dating world.
Okay, yeah.
So in the dating world, if I can't go out or if I can't talk, there's been people that reach out to me and they get overbearing where they're just asking and they say, you don't have the time. And I say, it's really, I have the time. You can make the time, but I sometimes would rather clean the house and make myself feel better having a nice warm house than to have to go out and actually go out on a date. So I don't date a lot. My boundaries, I've cut back on the dating. And I feel like if somebody wants to find me, they'll find me whether I'm, cleaning my house or I don't know.
No,
Yeah,
I love
I don't
that
like
example.
to be bugged.
Yeah, I think that is such a helpful example because there's possibly some judgment that people would have. Like if I label myself and my part of my identity is I'm trying to meet someone, I'm trying to meet people, but also I'm noticing myself thinking, I would like to stay home today. I would like to be in my home and care for my home and thereby care for myself, right? Societally, we might have some judgment like, but I'm supposed to want to go out right now. I'm supposed to take every opportunity to go out. And you're saying, that's okay. I'm going to let that opportunity go and I'm going to take care of myself right now. And I'm not going to feel bad about it.
Exactly, because if they really wanted to be with you, people would make exceptions and say, okay, we'll wait. We understand you need your time, right?
Yeah, that's such a great example. Oftentimes we do things because it's what we should do or what we've kind of like scheduled or what we've decided we would be doing. But in the moment, if we're like, you know what, this is actually a much better use of my time. This is actually much more what I would like to do for myself. I think that's okay.
At first, I felt isolated. I felt alone. Everybody around me was married. So I didn't, even though I had friends and I'm very friendly, you don't really have, the older you get, you realize you have a small network of people that are really, truly your friends. You have acquaintances, you kind of have to step outside your box and look and say, okay, I'm okay by myself. I've traveled by myself. I feel good about myself. It's a healthy place to be where you want somebody who is going to be in your life that's healthy with themselves as well.
Yep. Oh, I think that's so healthy to hear that, to say, I'll just be okay by myself and then trust I'll find someone else who's okay by themselves. That way it's not like a codependent thing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And
that's really good.
Whatever happens will just happen. And I think I'm ready, but maybe somebody else isn't ready for me. I don't know.
Well, trust the timing then, right? Just trust the timing. You do you, live your life, be who you want to be. And then just when someone shows up, if it's if it's a match, it'll be a match.
Exactly. And I think some people have to heal in the whole dating world. I've learned about myself, and even looking at patients and how they look at me and how they respond. I learn from everybody. So I absorb everything. I read a lot. I like to learn with that as well. You have to kind of own your own thing and be okay with it.
So I have many hopes for the people. Hope for the people listening. I'm hoping that people are going to go make a dentist appointment now and get their teeth cleaned and checked up. And then I hope that they give themselves a permission to have those kind of boundaries and be authentic to themselves. Good.
And then I also want to share, because self-care obviously is a big topic as well, with trying to figure out what you can do for yourself sometimes, like walking. I like to walk. I like to do yoga. I like to read. I go out with the girlfriends, but it's just really making sure that you're being okay with yourself. Meditation, things like that. There's different things that you can do. I had a conversation with a patient recently, and she was talking about how she sets aside time. She has a chair in a specific spot in her kitchen, and it's her own chair where she has coffee every morning. Here she said she had to give herself permission. She tells her kids, her husband, everybody, give me 15 minutes in my chair, and she enjoys that 15 minutes with her and her coffee in her favorite chair. And it was funny because I actually do that naturally anyways. I have favorite spots in my house that I'll go to in the mornings, and I'll listen to music, or I'll learn Italian. I'm learning Italian right now.
Wow, awesome.
And and people say, when do you sleep? Because I do a lot. They say, when do you sleep? And I say, I sleep well. I sleep very well. But I want to make sure that everything's off of my plate at night, and it's all written down, and I don't have to worry about things.
I'm quickly detouring from this episode to let you know you can commission a hand-painted, one-of-a-kind portrait of your dog or your friend's dog. These fun and heartwarming works of art are created with acrylic paint on an 8x10 canvas. All you have to do is answer a few questions about the painting that you want, send me the photo of your cute little dog, and pay the calendar fee to get started. When I finish the painting, I will send you a photo of your custom art piece, and your satisfaction is guaranteed. If you like it, pay the balance and get the painting. If you don't love it, or if you've changed your mind, just let me know and we will leave it at that. To see some examples of the dog paintings that I have already created for happy dog moms and dads, or to request your own puppy's portrait, go to bexby.org/dogs. And now let's get back on track with the episode. When you go in the music or in the morning and listen to music or learn Italian, is it a specific special chair? Do you have a special chair for yourself too?
I do. So I have 2 chairs in my house, and it just depends on where the lighting is and how I feel. But yes, I do. I love to sit. There's a place in my kitchen. I have a little chair, and I also have one in my bedroom that is part of where I can sit by the window, and I have my little favorite beach scene. I love the beach. So I feel like I can sit there and listen to calming music, or just take a time for myself and realize that the day is going to be so hectic, but we're going to get through it.
Yes. I'm so glad that you have that. I love that the patient shared that, 15-minute chair coffee situation with you. I also have my amethyst couch that I sit in every morning and I do my journaling. So yeah, if anyone is able to find that spot, it doesn't even have to be a chair, find that spot where
you can sit on the floor.
Yeah.
Even if you have a place on the floor, crisscross applesauce,
Right? Exactly. So you mentioned yoga too, which kind of goes along with crisscross applesauce. Do you have a subscription, or do you do it on YouTube, or do you go to a class? How do you do your yoga?
I go to Yoga 6. There's a studio, and everybody there is very community based. And I felt drawn to be there. I've been doing it. I had my 100th class where they celebrated with me, which was so cool because the community of yoga is just such a unique network where everybody understands each other.
Mm.
And you're helping yourself with your body. The older that we get, your mind, your body, your soul, it really puts you in a different place for a whole hour. I find myself being transported somewhere else when you go to these, because you show up to your mat and you have your friends among you and they're cheering you on. In the end, during the class, you're all sweaty.
Right, right.
But afterwards, it's like high five to you. You did it. And sometimes you feel so tired and you don't want to do it, but we still want to help our body and our mind, especially after doing hygiene all day. Sometimes that's the toughest things to do because we put our bodies in such poor positions ergonomically. And then the mental part of having your patient who might not even want to be there, and you have to turn around and make the best of everything and encourage them. And 9 out of 10 times, it might even be higher statistics than that. The patient, I think, just hated me. And I don't know why I think that, but I think they do. They come back and they hug me and they say, thank you so much. But you get that vibe sometimes because they're so grouchy and you think,
they're probably
my goodness,
tense.
They're tense. And then they say thank you. And you're like, wow, I don't know how that happened.
And that's a good reminder. We really don't know what other people are thinking or experiencing. Even though our brains tell us that we probably know, we really don't know.
My patients, they were the ones who actually got me through a lot of tough times. It was just me talking and having normal conversations. And everybody just shared their love. It was just amazing how you're just so normalized. Even as the hygienist, it was like you have therapy in the dental chair.
You're like, I got to get to work. I need some help. Right? I need some people's advice. Yeah. That's great. You mentioned your quiet time and looking at the beach or listening to music. Are you also a journaler? You said you like to write things down. Are you journal curious, or what's your journal status?
I do. It's not a daily journal, but I do journal. I write so much of thoughts from my head. It's not specific topics a lot of times. It's more what I'm thinking, how to go about doing things, maybe strategies. I research. I like to just write whatever's going on in my head.
That's so healthy too. That's really good. Do you have anything that you love to recommend? You already talked about yoga. Do you have any favorite books, TV shows, a product, a place?
I'm a foodie.
Okay.
So I love travel. I love food. And I don't know, I have Brene Brown always has such great books that are inspiring. And I think shame was a big topic for a lot of people and growing up and being shamed a lot. So I like Brene Brown, and she shows a lot of how to be healthier. And she's very authentic as well. So I like her.
What about, do you have any mantras or affirmations that you say to yourself?
I do. So it's funny. I have on my phone, I have these manifestation little apps and mantras. And so at 8:00 every morning, I have something will pop up, and then I can have an affirmation I can have for the day. And then at 10:00 at night, it'll go off and it will say something. I live by my name. So I feel like I give hope to everyone. I guess my mantra would be also abundance. That was my word for the year, was abundance. So between hope and abundance, I feel like those resonate with me the most.
I love it. Those are great. Even just focusing on the words is a good affirmation, right? Is a good mantra.
Absolutely.
I want to be respectful of everyone's time, but is there anything else that we haven't brought up yet that you think we should just talk about?
I feel like the fear in the dental office is a real thing because trauma, for a lot of patients who had gone through trauma, they like to wait. And what happens is when people wait, things are not only more expensive or more traumatizing. So prevention, I'd like to share that prevention is the key. And if you can't find your fit in a dental office, there's so many offices out there that maybe is a better fit for you. Same thing with the hygienists. There's a lot of hygienists out there that hate where they are, right? And so they have to find their fit as well. It's really finding your fit. and recognizing that medical and dental now go hand in hand, the connection between the body and the teeth, and realize that that's part of being healthy, to get out there and just go see your dentist, like you said.
Yes, I love that public service announcement. Everyone, go to the dentist. If you haven't been in the last 6 months, it's time to go. Is that your recommendation too, every 6 months or more or less? What do you think?
It really depends on the case.
Okay.
There's certain patients that I've had that are once a month. They just can't sustain themselves, or they have any medical they're very medically compromised. Or I have people that come every 3 months, 4 months. It really just depends on, I look at case by case and how people can maintain and how I can educate and help everybody.
That's wonderful. You mentioned upcoming here in November, you're going to be speaker on a panel, diversity and inclusion, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So I'm going to be on the panel for diversity, equity, and inclusion in Brown Girl RDH. I met everybody last year. It was a great opportunity. It's exciting to go and see everybody again and be on the panel. And they have such great continuing education classes.
So if people aren't able to join you at the convention, how else can people connect with you?
If you'd like to hear conversations beyond my dental chair, I have a podcast called Gums and Gossip, and my Instagram is Gums and Gossip. Facebook, I'm Gums and Gossip. And I have a link tree just to be able to listen to where the podcast is at. And its link tree is Gums and Gossip. So you can also find me on my website. So reach out to me. I'd love to hear from everybody and see if there's any other people out there that might, need a little bit of help, a little bit of hope.
I love it. That's so great. And we will have all of the links that you just mentioned posted on my website for this episode at bexby.org/meethope. So that's MEETHOPE, so that everyone can meet you. Well, this has been so fun, Hope. Thank you for coming on my podcast and sharing your story and your inspiration and your hope. I know people are going to love meeting you and hearing from you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again, Hope, for joining me today on the Release Your Resistance podcast, and also for having me as a guest on your podcast, Gums and Gossip. So remember, if anyone wants to check out what Hope does, you can find her in all the places. You can just Google Gums and Gossip, or you can get a link to everything on the show notes for this episode at bexby.org/meethope. That's bexb.org/MEETHOPE. Thank you again for listening. I just wanted to let you know I have a few more episodes lined up here coming up in the near future, so make sure that you are subscribed on your podcast player, and make sure you're on my mailing list as well. You can get to my mailing list by going to bexby.org/favorites, and that way you'll get an email whenever a new episode comes out. Otherwise, thanks again for listening today, and hope to talk with you again soon. Bye-bye. This has been Release Your Resistance. Thank you for listening. If you like this podcast, make sure you're subscribed and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Also, think about someone who you know who would love this episode and share it with them. There should be a share button on your app if you're listening to this on your phone. If you'd like to continue this conversation one-on-one or in real time, come visit me on my site at bexby.org to see how we can work together.